Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. My name is Julia Talbot, and I would like to welcome you to the Department of Family and Support Services Health Promotion Services RFP for the Austin Satellite Senior Center. This RFP was released on April 19th, and it is due on May 10th at 12 o'clock noon. I will be we always put everybody on mute. If you are having issues with technical issues, please put any of those questions or technical issues into the question box. And if you want to submit questions, please put your questions into the question box and we will respond to them after we go through all of the slides. I'm going to turn the agenda over to Sean Dolan and Margaret LaRaviere, who have joined me here from the seniors or the Division on Aging here. They're going to go through the program scope, background, and selection criteria, and then I will talk a little bit later about how to actually make your application in the e-procurement environment, and hopefully we can all go from there. I'll be joined today by Margaret LaRaviere, the Executive Director and Deputy Commissioner of the Senior Division here at DFSS. Margaret, please correct me if I have the name of your division wrong. Margaret's also the Executive Director to the Area Agency on Aging, which the City of Chicago holds. Sean Dolan, the Regional Director at the Senior Division, also will be joining us, and he's the sort of the program contact. And then I will be here too. So let's get started.
Thank you, Julia. And yes, this is Margaret LaRaviere, Deputy Commissioner of Senior Services and Executive Director of the AAA for PSA 12. And I will turn it over to Sean for the webinar. Thank you, Sean.
All right. Thank you, Julia, and thank you, Margaret. So let's get started. The purpose of the RFP, we are seeking to procure one delegate agency to provide health promotion services to older adults age 55 and older at the DFSS Austin Satellite Senior Center, which is located at 5071 West Congress Parkway, in addition to offering online and telephonic program offerings. Next slide. So this is just sort of a background on our Area Agency on Aging. As the local Area Agency on Aging for the City of Chicago, the Senior Services Division coordinates and funds services for older adults, prioritizing those in greatest economic and social need, those who live alone, and those at risk for institutional placement. So working in collaboration with our Aging Network partners, our division's efforts are guided by supporting older adults to live independently in their own communities and homes for as long as possible, ensuring that those who reside in institutions are treated with dignity and care, and lastly, guaranteeing that older adults have access to accurate information to participate in public policy. So with our service providers, we have been providing health promotion services to older adults in the City of Chicago for the past 2 decades. And funded by Title IIIB, Title IIIC, and Title IIID of the Older Americans Act, also through State of Illinois General Revenue Funds and Community Development Block Grants. These services have been designed to empower older adults in remaining healthy and safe within their homes via online and telephonic programming, and communities via programming at neighborhood senior centers and community site locations. Next slide. So the goals of this RFP are to assist older adults to increase their health awareness, also to increase their self-determination in managing their health, and lastly, to increase their positive health behaviors. So our current state is fiscal year 2019. We had over 6,000 unduplicated older adults participating in health promotion services and over 5,000 units of service, which means one activity session or hour of related service provision were performed. And this was among all the city's 21 senior centers. In fiscal year 2020, amidst the 2019 or the COVID-19 pandemic, Over 3,000 unduplicated older adults participated in health promotion services, that is in person, over the phone, and online. And close to 3,000 units of service were performed. And this was once again among all the city's 21 senior centers. So with this RFP, the selected respondent is expected to assist with outreach efforts to increase the number of older adults accessing services. And then lastly, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Health Promotion Services RFP seeks to further expand our social isolation programming, such as wellness discussion groups or other innovative initiatives. And then we're also seeking to further expand our online and telephonic activities as well. So our target population, we are seeking to serve community-based older adults, age 55 and older. The Older American Act, Title 3D, has some specific subpopulations, and those include older adults living in medically underserved areas, older adults demonstrating greatest economic need, with particular attention to low-income minority individuals, and older adults at risk for institutional placement. And lastly, there's some additional special populations, older adults with limited English proficiency, and lastly, older adults with disabilities. So this slide is just sort of giving a broad kind of overview of the RFP. So this RFP, once again, will just select one respondent to provide health promotion services via online and over the phone platforms and in person just at the Austin Satellite Senior Center. Once again, we do provide health promotion services to 21 senior centers, but this RFP is just specifically providing health promotion services at the Austin Satellite Senior Center. Therefore, the selected respondent will be responsible for overall program management, and this includes assisting with outreach efforts, as we talked about in the previous slide, to increase participation, incorporating best practice and evidence-based standards, and then utilizing health professionals. There's 4 of them, and that is a registered nurse, a licensed clinical social worker, or an LSW, a licensed social worker under the supervision of a LSCW, a registered dietitian, and a pharmacist. And the hope is that they all have previous geriatric experience preferred to deliver the program's core services. And then lastly, evaluating and reporting client satisfaction. Next slide. So these are the 5 core services. The first core service is health education. So the selected respondent will be responsible for scheduling monthly health education presentations, facilitated by each of those 4 health professionals that we talked about in the previous slide at the Austin Satellite Senior Center and online and over the phone. They'll also be responsible for delivering 1 or more ACL approved highest tier evidence-based workshops at least twice per month or as demand dictates at the Austin Satellite Senior Center and online and over the phone, and then establish additional health education programs as demand dictates. The next core service is health screenings. The respondent will be responsible for scheduling health screenings such as blood pressure checks, which is to be facilitated by the registered nurse and the pharmacist at Austin Satellite Senior Center, and offer health referrals when needed. And then there's also one-on-one consultations, and this includes scheduling one-on-one consultations between each of the healthcare professionals and the older adult participants at the Austin Satellite Senior Center and online over the phone, and offer health referrals and supportive services when needed. The next core service is mental health support groups. So this includes scheduling monthly mental health support groups facilitated by the social workers at the Austin Satellite Senior Center and online or over the phone to assist older adults. Successful adaptation to life changes and losses, and once again offer health referrals, and supportive services when needed. And then lastly, establish additional support in educational groups as demand dictates. And then the last core service is social isolation programming. So this entails providing ongoing social isolation programming for older adults, facilitated by the social worker at the Austin Satellite Senior Center and online or over the phone to address isolation and loneliness among the targeted older adult population. Next slide. So unit of service. This is just a reference slide. 1 unit of service equals 1 activity session. That is health education presentation, mental health support group, health screening, etc., or 1 hour of related service provision. The selected respondent is authorized to propose a per hour unit rate for the services offered as described in this RFP, and travel, paperwork, planning, and administrative duties will be included in the unit rate reimbursement. And we'll talk about this in a little bit in the cost proposal worksheet. Next slide. So with COVID, there's some emergency contingencies that we have in place for this RFP. Special emphasis should be placed on developing these plans for any emergencies. For example, pandemics, winter storms, tornadoes, heat waves, etc., that require a change in programming. And for this RFP in particular, all services are to be moved to online or over the phone platforms in case of an emergency or a shelter-in-place order. Next slide. So staffing qualifications and requirements. So as we noted before, the selected respondent must employ a registered nurse, social worker, pharmacist, and a registered dietitian, according to these following specifications. So an RN should be provided for 2 to 4 hours a week, a social worker for 2 to 4 hours a week, a registered dietitian for 2 to 4 hours a month, pharmacist for 2 to 4 hours a month at the Satellite Senior Center and online and over the phone as demand dictates. The selected respondent should ensure an adequate number of qualified and experienced staff to effectively coordinate and or perform the expected core services and have a backup plan in place in the event of staff absences. Verify that evidence-based program instructors and leaders have the appropriate training, licenses, and certifications. Offer consultations, assistance, and education and training to senior center staff on addressing older adult clients who are in need of physical, mental health, and or cognitive support. In addition, the respondent will provide a wellness program schedule for marketing publications, assist with other health-related special events and initiatives, participate in meetings with other contracted awardees, to coordinate citywide health promotion services and resolve problems among all the awardees. In addition to formulating strategies to engage older adults who do not have access to our services and develop innovative approaches to enhance program stature. And then lastly, comply with all applicable laws, ordinances, policies, etc., relating to and executive orders relating to background checks. Next slide. This slide has to deals with client contributions. The selected respondent may not charge for any of the program services. Pursuant to the OAA, all participants must be provided the opportunity to contribute or donate to the cost of their services, but those contributions, please note, are strictly voluntary. Lastly, all collected income must be used to expand the services of the provider and supplement, not supplant, funds received for the program. So the goals and outcomes are for this RFP. We are seeking respondents with evidence of past performance history against desired outcome goals, and we'll monitor a set of performance indicators through the respondents' client satisfaction surveys, and they include, but they're not limited to, 75% of participants will increase their health awareness, 75% of participants will increase their self-determination in managing their health, 75% of participants will increase their positive health behaviors, and 85% of participants will be satisfied with service delivery. DFSS also intends to track output metrics that may include, but are not limited to, the number of unduplicated program participants, the number of new program participants, the number of service hours provided, and the number of referrals to other healthcare providers. Contract management and data reporting requirements. So the selected respondent will be expected to collect and report client-level demographic, performance, and service data. So that may include program attendance, unduplicated participant count, and units of service provided for the month, as stated in any resulting contract between the respondent and DFSS. The selected respondent will be also expected to collect periodic feedback from program participants about the effectiveness of the services that are provided, generate client satisfaction surveys, as we talked about in the previous slide, to track performance measures, implement policies and procedures to ensure privacy and confidentiality of client records for both paper files and electronic databases, utilize the division's information system, and lastly, submit reports electronically to DFSS. So as we briefly talked about in the beginning, this RFP has a cost proposal worksheet, in lieu of the traditional submitted budget. So this allows respondents to indicate the proposed unit rate for the 4 different health promotion health professionals. So the term of the contract for this RFP will be from June 1st of this year until September 30th of 2023. So based upon need, availability of funding, and contractor performance, this term of contract can be extended for up to 1 year. This contract will operate on a reimbursement basis only. There's no advances to be given. 1 delegate agency will be awarded based upon the continued availability of funding levels, and the estimated annual site reimbursement allocation is $11,250. And once again, just to let people know, there is no traditional budget. Instead, the respondent will be required to complete a cost proposal worksheet, providing an estimated annual service volume for the Austin Satellite Senior Center for those 4 health promotion professionals. So the next couple slides have to do with the selection criteria, and this first slide talks about the strength of the proposed program. So this is what we're sort of looking for in the applications. The respondent clearly defines health promotion services to be provided directly or through partnerships or linkages with other agencies, and they're appropriate to addressing the needs of and achieving desired outcomes for the targeted older adult population. The respondent's proposed service plan is supported by strong evidence-based programming and aligns with best practices for the relevant field. The respondent demonstrates a clear understanding of the older adult target population and their needs and challenges, and details past experience serving the community and its residents. The respondent has an effective approach to identifying and recruiting program participants, both from within and outside the Satellite Senior Center. The respondent demonstrates experience providing health promotion services, both virtually and in person. And the respondent identifies successful engagement and retention strategies for health promotion services. So performance management and outcomes. The respondent demonstrates evidence of strong past performance against desired outcome goals and performance metrics and/or other notable accomplishments in providing services to the target population. The respondent has relevant systems and processes needed to track and report performance on program outcomes. The respondent has experience leveraging data, including client feedback, to inform and improve its services or practices. The respondent has the relevant systems and processes needed to secure, collect, and store key participant and performance data. And lastly, the respondent incorporates client feedback and input to evaluate and improve service delivery. Organizational capacity. The respondent has the relevant capabilities and/or infrastructure needed to manage this program. The respondent has qualified staff for those 4 health professionals responsible for program. Oh, also, sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. Responsible for program oversight and management. The respondent has adequate human resources capacities to hire and manage staff. The respondent has adequate systems and processes to support monitoring program expenditures and fiscal controls. And the respondent's organization reflects and engages the diverse people and communities it serves. Reasonable costs, budget justification, and leverage of funds. So the respondent conducts an audit. The respondent has the fiscal capacity to implement the proposed program. The respondent leverages other funds and in-kind contributions to support the total program and administrative costs. And the respondent demonstrates responsible implementation costs and funding requests relative to its financial and human resources, and the proposed budget supports the proposed scope of work or the work plan itself. So there are some additional attachments that are required. Please make sure to attach them. They include the job descriptions and resumes for all 4 of the health professionals. And in addition to those health professionals, we also need job descriptions and resumes for program oversight and general management staff. In addition, please make sure to attach the cost proposal worksheet. Sorry. Next slide. So this is just sort of the timeline. The RFP has been released. We're doing the webinar today on Tuesday, April 26th. The applications, once again, are due on Tuesday, May 10th at 12 o'clock. And then the program would start on June 1st. Once again, as a big reminder, the applications are due on Tuesday, May 10th at 12 o'clock.
Thank you, Sean. This is Julia. I'm now gonna start to go into how to actually make an application in the e-procurement environment. E-procurement is the environment that the city of Chicago uses to accept applications. That's where it posts its applicant or its funding opportunities, and it's also where you go to voucher for contracts and receive payment. So it's sort of the contracting and financial platform for the city of Chicago. If you have never done business with the city of Chicago, you will need to register for an iSupplier account, which is the vendor-controlled account that you will use as a vendor or an applicant to access the e-procurement system. That account, it takes a few days to fill out some paperwork. You email it off, and then within a few days back, you will get an email from DPS, the Department of Procurement Services, telling you how to access your account. Please be aware that I have personal experience that most everything from the e-procurement system does end up in a junk folder. So please check your junk, your spam filters and stuff to make sure if you're looking for correspondence from the e-procurement system, it very well may end up there. Just some general guidelines on how to do an application in the e-procurement environment and kind of what we're looking for. For DFSS, all of our RFPs are they are sort of triangulated with the application and the evaluation tool. So if you're having an issue with wondering kind of what direction to go in, please review the RFP narrative, because the RFP narrative, from the RFP narrative and scope comes the application, from the application and the narrative comes the selection criteria, and all of that, the selection criteria directly feeds into our evaluation tools. And so everything is in an alignment, and then so you should use the information in the RFP for guidance in formulating your answers if you are having you find yourselves at a sort of a crossroads as to like, well, how is this going to work for me? What do they really want, et cetera, et cetera. Please refer to those RFP documents for sort of guidance. There's a lot of information in them. I know that they're kind of dense reading, if you will, but they are thoughtful documents meant to be instructive and helpful. Again, also carefully review the selection criteria, because those are the things that we will be looking for in your answer. In the e-procurement environment, there's a 4,000 character limit, which includes punctuation and spaces. So each response or each quote value is allotted 4,000 characters. And e-procurement will not count that for you. So I always suggest that people write their applications in the word processing software of their choice that will do the character count for them. And then you'll cut and paste it into the e-procurement platform. If you go over the 4,000 character limit, e-procurement isn't going to tell you. They just sort of cut off your answer, and you would not necessarily find that out until really late in the game when you looked at a PDF of the PDF. Also, when you go to apply, please keep a copy of your questions. Once you push the submit button in e-procurement, you're really not going to be able to access your application in anything but a PDF format. You're not going to be able to access it or really, get it into an easily sort of manipulatable form if you wanted to say use that language again. A little bit of a pro tip: do not use the back button on your browser while you're in iSupply or e-procurement. What will happen then is it will pretend that it keeps working, but it won't. And when you go to save, you'll get an error message. When you go back in, you will find that none of the things that you had done since you had hit the back button have been saved. We've all been burned on this one, so just please save yourself the pain. One nice thing about e-procurement is that you can submit your application and later amend it up until the due date, which is May 10th, 2022 at 12 noon. That is a hard due date. We do not have the ability to actually accept late applications once the application window has closed. So please get your submissions in on time. The only way we can accept late applications is to repost the entire RFP, and that is not something we want to do, because we would then have to make everybody who had applied on time reapply. You should plan on your submissions taking 30 to 60 minutes, and I'm going to go through two common things that you have to do in e-procurement as part of sort of just being familiar, putting in your application. That is accepting the amendment and doing the submission. You'll know when we go to making the submission, it's not just hit go and you're done. It's 9 screens of what you're going to have to do to put your submission in. So you should plan on having it take 30 to 60 minutes. I tell pretty much everybody at this point to try to get it in the day early, and because late applications will not be accepted. And while we have the e-procurement hotline, and you can always call me or email me for help, the fact is that this has been an extremely busy RFP season for both DFSS and the city, and that sometimes, you will call with a problem. That problem will not be something that can be resolved in 10 minutes, and there are a lot of other people in the system with similar problems, and so things just get gummed up. The e-procurement hotline or helpline, 312-744-4357. It operates during business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. During RFP season, I often operate different hours, or I will check my emails or voicemails during the weekend. So if you're looking for after hours or weekend, probably I'm a better bet, but you should always reach out to them as well. And my mantra for just doing anything concerning RFPs is to save often and submit early. You can submit your application, as I said, and amend it. You can submit it as many times as you want and pull it back and change it. And at least then you will have something in the system if, God forbid, you miss the deadline. In terms of technical assistance, if you're interested in different or more RFPs to look at from DFSS, we always post all of our funding opportunities on the alert section in our website. We also put them on the funding opportunities section. For purposes of this webinar, the PowerPoint slides and the webinar link, a link to the webinar on the DFSS YouTube channel will be posted on the webinar, the funding opportunity page for this RFP. That will happen within about 24 hours. If you have other questions, you can always call, the helpline. You could also go email customer support at cityofchicago.org. Or if you're a person that really just learns better through the videos and looking at PowerPoint slides with instructions, we have a ton of those posted at the following website, the iSupplier online training materials. The ones that are going to be most relevant for you in regards to this application, at least, are going to be found under the delegate agency section. So now we're going to talk about two common things that people do. One is how to accept an amendment, and the other is how to submit your application. The DFSS posts an amendment or does an amendment for practically all of the RFPs it releases because it wants as a way of attaching the questions and the answers that it received during webinars such as this, or just through questions that people call in or email. So we do an amendment for almost every RFP unless there were no questions. We also do an amendment if we need to change the date, if we find something that was not correct and we need to make a correction. You will see during this how to accept an amendment process how what we really want to make sure is that you have read the amendment document and understand that you will be held responsible for the information in the amendment. Like everything, there are question and answers. We want to just make sure that you understand, if we change the date, that you understood that you changed the date. Or if there was a substantive change. Most of the time, it's really just providing reiterations or a little bit deeper or different or, clearer explanation of a concept. But still, we want to make sure that you feel that you have mastery and that you're willing to lay down for that. So in this case, we're looking at, I'm going to go through some screenshots here. In order to start an application, you will need to acknowledge and accept the amendment. So in this particular screen, the person has yet to have started an application, and they pull up the RFP and they get this warning, you have to accept the amendment. To do this, you're going to look at this blue amendment history. In the e-procurement environment, generally anything in this sort of bright blue, or you click on something that's blue, you can see here down below too, blue and underlined, it usually goes to something else. And that's the best way to navigate in the e-procurement environment so that you don't have to use that back browser button. So you're going to click on the view amendment history, and that will take you to the following slide, where you begin to accept the acceptance and acknowledgement process. So here, if you click on the document number, you're going to review, that will allow you to review the changes that are explained in the amendment document. You can see here in this middle bar, there's an amendment description. That's just a little one-pager that tells sort of the highlight or the most salient point about the amendment that you're going to accept. And then here under the two, you're going to click on the infinity or eyeglass icon, and that also allows you to see the amended changes. Number one is shows you the entire RFP. Number two just shows you the amendment. And then when you're done reviewing, you would hit the Acknowledge Amendment button on the upper or lower right-hand side, and that would bring you, you'll acknowledge the amendment, and that will bring you to this screen where you continue to acknowledge your amendment by accepting the terms and conditions of the RFQ and acknowledge the changes made to the RFQ amendment document. And so you click this little box, and then you hit Acknowledge on the right-hand side again. When you hit the Acknowledge button, you're going to be taken to this confirmation screen that you may now respond to the negotiation. You wish to proceed, you will hit yes because you wish to proceed. At this point, if you had started an application in the e-procurement environment, this is what will bring everything that you had already done from the prior application into the new amended application screens. Once you hit yes, you're going to get this final terms and conditions where you have checked the I have read and accepted the terms and conditions down here, and then you hit the accept button on the upper or lower right hand side, and that's the final step to acknowledge and accepting the amendment. Now we're going to talk about how do you actually submit an application. So when you're ready to submit, you're going to start by saving your draft one last time, and then you're going to hit the continue button. When you hit the continue button, what's going to do is e-procurement's going to do a whole scan of your application and kind of look for what it considers to be the low-hanging fruit and give you error messages if it feels that you have missed putting stuff in. It really doesn't do it doesn't look for content or quality. It's really just doing a scan to see, like, are there boxes or quote values or really just anything that should have been answered that hasn't been answered. I'm going to go through here the two most common errors that people encounter. The first here is you must quote on at least one line in the RFQ. And when we talk about that, the e-procurement system is set up to do procurement for every kind of procurement in the city. The lines is something that the DFSS uses later in the contract process, but we don't use this for our applications. We require our cost proposal that you upload as an attachment or a budget that you upload as an attachment. However, e-procurement is still going to want you to fill out these lines. You can see here right below the error message, there's a little tab that says lines. You would go in there and you can really put in any number you want. You can put in your budget number or you don't, but it wants you to put in a quote. It's going to want you to answer at least one of the lines to make that error message go away. Again, you're going to submit a cost proposal to us, so the lines is nothing that we're going to look at. We just need you to put in placeholders. The other very common error message that we get is this quote value is required for requirement first name. In this case, what we're talking about, the quote value is the answer. That's the field that's limited to the 4,000 characters. The requirements is sort of e-procurement speak for your application questions, and the application question first name has been left blank. So in this case, you're going to put in the answer to the quote value for the question first name. So you're putting a first name. After you have gotten rid of all of these sort of low-hanging fruit kind of errors, your application will be free from errors and you will be ready to proceed and submit. It means at this point, when you click continue, your application will be put into this review and submit phase. And what that means is that you're going to be able to scroll down through your entire application and sort of check your work. So you'll be scrolling down. You can see here, this is your last chance to review your data and confirm that it is accurate. You can see all of your attachments. And when you scroll down all to the bottom, you'll see all of your responses. When you scroll down all the way to the bottom, you'll see this place where you put an electronic signature in. You're going to put in your name and your title, and then you're going to click the box for your electronic signature. Don't click the box first like I do, because that will give you an error message telling you to put your name and title in first. And then I can't fit this all on one screen, but over here on the right-hand side, there is this very nice submit button. If you will click to submit your application. Now remember, if you're doing this before the due date, you can always pull this application back even though you've submitted it and amend it and then resubmit. But so there you go, you've submitted your application. After you submit, you'll get this confirmation screen. Additionally, eProcurement now sends out a confirmation email within 24 hours of the submission. It will send it to the email address associated with the application that you made. And remember, check your spam or your junk folders for that. if you want something a little bit more immediate or a little bit sooner, you are going to need to call me or email me. And that is not a problem. I am more than happy to check to see if we have received your application. If you have any doubt or you just want the extra confirmation, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I'm more than happy to to check for you. I can see your submissions really seconds after you hit that submit button. And so that is how you're going to submit an application. I don't see that we're going to have any questions for this webinar today. So I'm going to go right to this last screen. So if you have program questions, the person to talk to is Margaret LaRaviere, and here's her contact information. For the non-programmatic questions, that would be about stuff about e-procurement or just basic how do you make an application kinds of stuff. More administrative things, you can email or call me. I can't thank everybody enough for their interest in this RFP. Margaret or Sean, are there any final comments that you would like to make?
There we go.
Yes, like you said, thank you for your interest, and if you have any questions, let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this webinar, and we look very much forward to seeing your applications on, again, this will be due on May 10th. So take care.